Hi Soumitra,
Hi.
lovely to meet you here. You're here with your project Kabuliwala, which is the remake of this amazing classic that we've had. Uh, you making it in animation format, something that we don't usually see. You've been involved with animation and children's films generally. Could you talk a bit about the project and how you've kind of reconceptualized it and why you want to kind of make it?
Actually, I did my schooling from Kabul, from Afghanistan. So that was the period between 1976 to 1980. So that was a period of great turmoil in that country, because we were witness to a war, to military coups, and frequent bombings in the city, and all kinds of things happening. So as a 14-year-old, it left a big impact on me. Uh, and it so happened that I first read the story in school over there in Kabul itself. So, at that time it was just a story. It was a great story. So I was just reading this story again about a year back, and I thought it made so much more sense now. It was initially written in 1913, which is 102 years back, and it makes so much more sense now today as the world is getting more and more uglier, and we are becoming more and there's so much of hate, there's so much of anger, there's so much more mistrust in the world now, and these kind of stories help to bridge that gap, and especially the image of a bearded turbaned man is that of terrorist,
Right.
and that has actually disturbed me a lot, because we know that they are not like that. So it's also very personal reason for which I'm making this film, and it's also political, in that sense.
So your script was a part of the Children's Screenwriters Lab here,
Yes.
right? So could you talk a bit about that experience and how that has helped the script evolve?
Actually, when they first announced the children's lab, I was absolutely ecstatic, because India makes about 1,000 or even more films every year, and how many of them are for children? It is very sad that our children have to see Dabang and Dhoom 2 and 3 and all kinds of these kind of films, and there is nothing for them actually. So it has been my dream, my desire all these years to keep.
And you've been working on, like, you
Yes.
made films that have, and TV series which have kind of been targeted
Yeah.
towards children.
I met Jajantra Mohammed, and then I was involved with
Right.
Gopi Kavaiya, which is animated film. So this has been my interest also. So the announcement of the lab was a great thing. I was slightly skeptical, because I wasn't sure who the mentors are going to be, because we hardly have any writers here who are specialized in that. So, but the mentors that we eventually did work with, they were absolutely amazing, because they come from Holland, and they come from Denmark,
Right.
where the traditional children's film is very deep,
Right.
and they 40% of their films every year are made for children.
Wow.
So, and these people particularly, they have a huge experience in all kinds of entertainment, whether it's cinema, television, books. So it was a great learning experience for me, and I'm absolutely certain that when I wrote my initial draft and the draft that we have today, there's a big difference, and it's actually got better.
Right. So you've reconceptualized the original story. It's animation. It's more fantasy. Could you just talk about the treatment that you have in mind?
See, actually, when in 1913, the situations were totally different, and now, of course, India is not the same, and nor is Afghanistan. So I've made the film contemporary. It happens in this day and age, where the Afghan is a refugee actually. So I have included the entire political, social political changes that have happened in this recent past. But because it's a children's film and because I want to ensure that the innocence is not lost, I don't show that the violent part of Afghanistan upfront. It is subtext in the
Right.
film.
Right, and the film obviously is very topical today, given what's happening in the Middle East, in Syria. And did you have that in mind while you were working on the script, or it's just that it's kind of evolved?
No, I
naturally?
had it in my mind. I mean, I didn't have any particular incident in my mind, but this has been in my mind for a very long time, since this whole Islamic fundamentalism has appeared in front of us, and we know the reasons for that also. So I mean, I mean, all these years it was happening in the southern part of the world, the underdeveloped part of the world, and now since it's now happening in Europe, and it also happened in the US. Suddenly it's now become a big issue, which was a big issue even for us.
Even otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
So, how was the experience of pitching at the bazaar yesterday? And could you talk about maybe have there been meetings after that, and what is the kind of interest in the film from investors and otherwise?
See, pitching for me is something that I don't want to do. I don't like to do. I have a stammer, so public speaking is not something that I like to do. But now it seems pitching is the way that all films are made. So now one has to do that as well. So I did it, and yeah, it's been the response has been very good actually. To be honest, there are people who are seriously interested in the project, and since I have an animation studio myself, because every time you start an animation film, the key question which is asked to you is who's going to do it, and especially in India we don't have animation in the culture. So because I have a studio already, and we've done some very interesting work in the past, latest with Gopi. So that is a very good positive for me, and I'm now speaking to some very serious people. Yeah.
Right, and like you touched upon animation not being taken very seriously. What do you think is the issue? Like where because internationally it's such a huge genre, it's such a huge category. We consume as Indians a lot of international animated films, whether they feature and even shorts are amazing, right? So we have the talent. I mean, in terms of the pool, I think there is a lot of work being done, which is lower end probably, but there's a lot of work being done. So could you talk a bit about where you think the problem is?
I think India has not yet developed a language of its own in animation. Like, we have a very strong language of cinema, starting from Dada Saheb, and there was Painter, there was V. Shantaram, there was all kind of regional cinema. There was Guru Dutt, Raj Kapoor. So over the last 100 years, we've had a very, very strong culture for cinema. This didn't happen in animation. What happened in animation was in 1960s, I think it was, the film division here in Bombay started a animation unit. It was called the Cartoon Unit, and they got 2-3 people from the West, from Disney in fact, to come here and train Indian animators. So one of the earliest people, I mean, in fact, they were the earliest people, were Ramon and Bhimsen. So they were trained in Disney tradition, and from then on, Indian animation just got kind of stuck in the Disney mold. So we never could really evolve our own language through our own visual culture. So that, I think, is the key, because like the Japanese did it from their own manga style of.
They have a completely
They have a
unique
completely
tradition
unique. So
of,
what we need to do very seriously is that we have to. It'll happen. It'll take time. There are people like Geetanjali Rao, Shilpa Ranade, who are doing very interesting work, which is coming from our own ethos, and it should happen. Yes.
And coming back to your film, what is the kind of fund you are looking at? What is the size that you're looking at when you're talking to the investors?
Actually, I would like to answer that. I tell you why. Because for an Indian producer, any budget for an animation is too large.
High.
So if I cut down all my costs and I just give it, because I'm very keen on making this film, so I cut out all my costs and I just gave him a bare minimum budget, which maybe it may seem viable to Indian producer. Now for foreign producer, if I gave them the same figure, they will think I don't know what I'm talking about, because in that budget they can't even make an ad film. So because of the disparity, at the moment I'm holding on to the budget that I have in my mind.
Right. That's fair. Talking about your other project, that it's already on in post-production stage, and I think it's very interesting that both your films now, the one that you're pitching here and the one that you're finishing, are retellings of classics. So could you talk a bit about Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai, and
Actually,
how it's kind of different from the original one?
Actually, funnily, most of my work is remakes, relooks, because Jajantram was based on Gulliver's Travels. After that, I made Ali Baba and Iktali Sur, which is not yet released, but
Gopi again was,
and now this Albert Pinto. It's interesting. I do have a lot of original scripts also. It's just so happened. I would say it's a coincidence, very honestly. But yeah, I know 6 films, one after that. One of the other reasons why animation usually in India right now is remakes, and all, because it's like easier to pitch it. Like if I was to come and tell you that it's this amazing story which I have written, you will not be as a producer. But if I come and say that it's Kabuliwala, written by Tagore, and so obviously you'll be fine, because it's very expensive. Animation is very expensive, and the stakes are extremely high. So we try to cut down on the risks. We can try and cut down on the risks. And having said that, when I take these stories, I change them entirely. Because it's important for me to tell my own story, so I keep the structure of the original, and then I add in all my things in it.
Right. But where is the film at now? In what stage?
Actually, we had started a crowdfunding campaign. We had asked for 30 lakhs, and people were kind enough, and they gave us 40 lakhs. So it's in a fast track now, because we have the money to now finish the film. So at the moment, I'm just locking my edit. All my sound is done. I have to do the mixing and all that, and I have a lot of VFX and animation again in that film. So the work on that has already started. I'm expecting it to be over by end of Jan, I think, approximately. Yeah.
Right. And is this your first time at the Film Bazaar?
No, it's my second time actually. I had come here 2 years back with Albert Pinto.
Right. So what do you think of a bazaar like this? I don't think we have too many. This is probably the only one in India. I've been seeing a lot of filmmakers, young filmmakers, wanting to tell their own unique stories, and there are so many stories around. What do you have to say about that as a filmmaker?
It's a great thing. I mean, it's a fantastic, because how else will a film like mine, which is animation based, Kabuliwala, or a person from Manipur, or a person from Rajasthan, or they're making these amazing films. They have no other way to show it to the world, and this is the platform for all of us who believe in parallel cinema, and So yeah, it's like a mandir.
Best wishes for your project.
Thanks.
We hope that it gets funded soon and we get to see it on the big screen sometime soon. And look forward to Albert Pinto also.
Thank you.
So lovely chatting with you, Soumitra.
Thank you.